there was some information about Alzheimer's saying that the brains of patients with Alzheimer's disease may harbor bacteria, virus, spirochetes, spiral bacteria, such as those causing Lyme disease, fungi, or parasites. So how do we prevent these? I guess they're saying that some of the people with Alzheimer's were shown to have these bacteria, virus, spirochetes, and I guess fungi, parasites. How do you get this, and how do you get them out of you if you already have it, or if you've already had Lyme disease? How do you get these viruses and bacteria and spirochetes out of your body?
Dr. Dorsey, how would these get through the blood-brain barrier? Enlighten.
Yeah, so this is a little outside my area of expertise. So Lyme disease, spirochete, can cause neurological damage. Highly effective treatment are antibiotics. The most effective antibiotics likely is medicine called ceftriaxone. And the person who's an expert on fungi is Dale, Dr. Bredesen, who we just lost. So I would defer to him on that topic.
Okay.
Well, thank you. And I think it's my opinion that most of these are prevented from entering the brain if the blood-brain barrier is intact. Now, I know there can be damage to the blood-brain barrier, both in Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, that allow foreign particles to enter the brain. But in large part, I do not see, and I have not seen the research showing that a significant amount of these, and that there is a significant problem for these two neurologic disorders.
Okay. Is cardiovascular disease, if you have cardiovascular disease, does that put you at greater risk for Alzheimer's?
Oh, absolutely. Studies have shown that people with atherosclerosis have a much higher risk, 2 to 3 times the risk for Alzheimer's disease. And that, of course, is because of vascular dementia. Those with plaque in their arteries are going to have a little bit of the plaque break loose and plug a capillary or an arteriole in the brain. And when this happens consistently, you get vascular dementia, which eliminates parts of your memory, and your cognitive cells are damaged by that. Of course, if a larger piece of plaque breaks away, you can have a real stroke or a heart attack. Also, the same saturated fat that creates this atherosclerotic plaque and high cholesterol increases the amyloid beta production, both through lipid raft changes and through the secretase enzymes, which create the amyloid beta in the brain. So there are many ways that the diet that create atherosclerotic plaque also increase Alzheimer's disease. And it would be nice if people did not eat more than 12 grams of saturated fats a day, which greatly lower their risk of Alzheimer's disease, as I described it at some length in my talk today.
I have a statistic here from one of the books that said research found that those with strong social bonds were 50% less likely to die than those with weaker social network. Social connectivity is important as other accepted risk factors such as diet, exercise, and sleep for healthy aging. Additionally, those who are married exchange support with family members, have contact with friends, participate in community groups, and engaged in paid work are 46% less likely to develop dementia. Does this resonate with your research?
Steve, this is you.
Dr. Dorsey, are you going to talk about this?
No, I was going to leave. I said it's you.
Well, I've certainly seen a ton of research on social activity improving people's memory and slowing the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And I think this is a matter of using the brain too. Also brain games. Our neuropsychologist is a real expert, Dr. Thomas Harding, and he not only analyzes the brain, we call him a human MRI because he can actually determine what parts of the brain are damaged with his neuropsychological testing. But he also, when he finds a weak area, he can design a brain game to strengthen that area. And so he assigns these different ways for people to re-strengthen their brain. But social activity is, have you ever noticed it's really exhausting? There's a lot of connections being made when you're out in a crowd, meeting people and getting to know people. And this is like a brain game. It exercises the brain, makes new neural connections. It helps with plasticity. It helps with the brain-derived neurotropic factor and getting your brain neural stem cells to become real cells to replace dead ones. So yes, it has a tremendously good effect. The socialization is widely studied and widely shown to be beneficial. I haven't seen so much in Parkinson's disease, though. Have you?
No, but I think the mechanism by which, socialization, education, exercise might all work is either creating or preserving synapses or the connections within the brain. So I think all those three are quite beneficial for a wide range of brain diseases.
How about general anesthesia? Does that contribute to cognitive decline? And also, what about if the answer to that is yes, does that mean anything about local anesthesia that I get at the dentist?
Well, general anesthesia, of course, can create cognitive problems and memory decline. It depends on how long the operation is, how long you're under. The really long operations, it's very common to have cognitive problems. Now, sometimes they clear up over time, and sometimes they don't. But anesthesia is definitely a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and mixed dementia itself. Of course, people who need operations may not be in such great health themselves, so that may skew the results a little bit.
Yeah, I think exactly as Dr. Blake was suggesting, in addition to the effects of anesthetics, which obviously impair memory as part of their intended use, so you don't remember things, is that the people getting these, especially for cardiovascular heart disease, have significant problems, medical problems, and it's quite clear that people after they get bypass surgeries and stuff like that have significant cognitive worsening. All the more reason to eat a healthy diet, exercise, prevent yourself from ever getting these diseases in the first place. As treatments and cures aren't easy and have their own adverse effects.
Couldn't agree more.
Dr. Dorsey, based on your research, would you avoid playing golf on golf courses because of all the tremendous amount of research you did on the dangers of all these different chemicals?
So I don't play golf, so it's easy for me to say. But I would be really, so there was one study that found that 18 people, I think, developed Parkinson's disease who all lived around a golf course, and 15 of the 18 or 16 of the 18 lived downwind of the golf course. Robin Williams, I think, grew up right near a golf course and developed a Parkinsonian disorder. I think these are real concerns. I mentioned there have been some studies linking pesticide use on football or soccer fields, pitches, to Parkinson's disease and to ALS. We should be making sure that the sports that we play to improve our health are indeed safe, whether by the nature of the sport or by the nature of the chemicals that we're putting on the fields to play those sports. I think all of us would be fine to have a few more weeds and a few less causes of Parkinson's and ALS.
Is your conclusion that the specific chemicals that you wrote about, the TCE, the paraquat, the other one, are really the problem? Or are you saying those are the problem, but all pesticides are probably of a concern, or you really feel it was really just those specific ones?
So Rachel Carson, in her book Silent Spring, wrote in 1962, the book that launched the environmental movement leading to the formation of the EPA in 1970. She was really attacking not pesticides per se, but indiscriminate use of pesticides. So DDT, for example, saved thousands, if not millions of people from dying of malaria in World War II. But after World War II, it got a hero's welcome, and we had indiscriminate use of it, literally puffing DDT on streets and having kids play right behind the DDT that was being sprayed. So people can make arguments for pesticides. What we argue in the book is that there's certain of these pesticides are closely linked to Parkinson's disease, and indeed many of them likely cause Parkinson's disease, and those we can do without. And if we need to use pesticides, which can be debated, if we need to use pesticides, we should just make sure that they're safe, just like the FDA requires that medicines be safe. We should have the same requirements of that for pesticides.
Yes, and of course, there are many other studies that have looked at farming areas and the pesticides sprayed on farms and finding a lot more Parkinson's disease in areas downwind from where they're spraying on farm areas. It's not just golf courses and playing fields. It's wherever certain pesticides are sprayed. And dicambra is a real concern because it's the last organochlorine that's being used, and it's very, very dangerous, and it would be great if it could get banned.
In addition to consuming them, as Steve was implying, is I think we got to be really concerned about what we're inhaling, because by inhaling things, we get around the normal protective barriers of the blood-brain barrier, and we're allowing things to basically gain a portal to the brain that really should be closed off, and really one that we haven't been selected for as humans to do, because for the vast majority of human existence, we haven't had inhaled toxins causing loss of disease.
Inhaled for sure. And there have been studies also of pesticide applicators where their families get Parkinson's disease from handling their clothing. It's just, the stuff is really toxic, and somehow our government should protect us from these things.
And we need to hold them accountable to do so.